we'll get started. So, do you want to introduce yourself first then?
Yeah, my name's Matthew Sherry, 26, and I just set up a new business about 5 weeks ago now in Armagh on Upper English Street, and it's called Basil Lane, and for now we're just selling wood-fired pizzas and garlic breads, and yeah, we've been blown away with just how well it's been going, and
Especially, suppose, not being a local. How have you found that?
People ask me what took you to Armagh, and I honestly don't have a solid answer. I just came to the town, and I was researching different towns, and I came to Armagh, and I went to the coffee shops, and I seen they were just really busy, and the people seemed so down to earth, and I was like, I feel like I could really be at home in this town, it might be a good shout, and I just went for it. But it's all of that sort of come true. I went back to the same coffee shop then yesterday, and I'd never met him, but the barista knew me and the business, and was just saying how he's going to come in and how he's heard such good things, and they're just it's a really good community.
And just you feel very supportive, I
very
suppose.
Supportive. It's been unbelievable. Just all the business owners that are near me they've all come in multiple times and just offering a hand, anything they can do, reposting on social media and stuff, and all that's really important when you're starting off, and it's been just so supportive. So
So I mean, but have you relocated completely to Armagh now yourself, or are you still living, travelling?
I still travel, haven't ruled out making the move, but we're traveling for the minute, and we're slowly liking the place more and more, and maybe considering that, but for now it's just a great home for the business.
And I mean, suppose back in Monaghan, what was your job? What were you doing?
So I actually was studying in Dublin before. I was studying science, so it was a bit far moved, and it was actually in Dublin where I just actually got one of them Google photo reminders where it's like, oh, look at what you're doing 6 years ago. It was me just doing research on pizza places, so that's how long that I was just interested in this. But it was in Dublin actually that I went to an artisan pizza place, and they were just selling directly onto the street, and the only thing I knew about pizza was, you can go to one of the big guys and get a pizza, and I had this wood-fired pizza, and it just tasted like a different food, and it just was amazing, and ever since then I was like, this is what I want to do, I really think this could do well.
So science went out the window then?
Science went out the window, and my parents were just devastated, but they're very supportive now.
And did you stick at the degree, or?
I stuck at it. It was I contemplated a lot on whether will I go do this now to finish my degree, but I just said I was over halfway through at that stage, and I'd finish it, and I'm glad I did. But pretty much as soon as it finished, I was like, right, how do you go about doing this? How do you get a business off the ground? And I done postgrad then in entrepreneurship, but with COVID it was all sort of online and stuff. But it was still really good, and it helped me to sort of get the practical elements in. It's great to have a vision, but to actually to put that into something, and then have someone walk in the door, and you're like, oh, this is it, that's something else. So
but obviously, so you said, so where did where did the planning start? What did it start with? Did it start with the pizza, or where you were going to locate this?
Well, the planning started with the pizza. I was like, first and foremost, the product has to be good, it was all about the product, and then everything else was how do we get this to the people, and Yeah, no, I considered a few places like Armagh
Yeah.
wasn't just definite top of the
Yeah.
list, like, but there was good outlets available in Armagh, and then as I was saying, like, just the community seemed really just down to earth, like, you
Yeah.
know, and that's what really drew me to here. You know, it came to a point where I was just like, yeah, it has to be here first, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose with the pizzas, you know, was it a case of looking at what others had done, or were you kind of trying to think outside the box, or what way did it go with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely like looked at what others had done, you know, to get inspo, but I can't say that I just copy and pasted anyone. You take the elements that you like and you just leave the things you don't, and then what you come up to at the end just is your own
It's
thing.
a lot of
you know?
market research or just eating pizza as opposed to
Yeah,
come up with,
no.
with what was happening.
It's been a lot of pizzas eaten, you know.
And I suppose when you know, is it yourself that cooks the pizzas?
Yeah. So I'm like an owner operator, you might call it, and you know, for now that's really good, and to be that close to the product, and you know, whenever people come in and they're like, they really like.
What kind of training
liked it.
did you need to be able to kind of?
Yeah,
do
no, I just worked in a Woodfired pizza place. I spent
Right.
a long time researching to find someone who sort of, the pizza wise, done what I wanted to do, and then just approached them and said, and was very upfront. I was like, I want to open my own place. Armagh in my head, you know, because you can't really approach them and say you're going to open next door. Like, I was like, it's going to be in Armagh, so don't worry about it. Will you show me, you know, how you do it? And yeah, he needed staff at the time. He was like, absolutely, you know.
No, and I suppose that you know that's probably really good to have that support in the community or where,
it was
you know,
more than I thought it would be actually, because not only did he show me how to cook pizzas and how to make good pizzas, he networked with me, and all, like I got to join in with his network of his suppliers and all, and anytime I approached someone I could just say, oh, I worked with him, and they instantly knew, you know, I'd sort of know what I wanted and all, and you know, it was going to be easy, and that definitely helped me get some good suppliers, because there's a lot of like supply issues now at the minute and supply constraints, so approaching the supplier and being like, I already know what I want, and
I suppose it's very specific in the pizza world. I mean, you know, if mozzarella's running low, you're in trouble. What kind of sort of shortages have you experienced? Is that just due to Brexit and things like that?
Yeah, well, Brexit hasn't. It's by the time I got going in, it sort of sorted itself out for the most part. But there was rumours, and I don't know where they started or how they went around, that there was going to be a flour shortage. And the second there's a rumour there's going to be a flour shortage, everyone overbuys, and there is a shortage. So that's happened recently, where like if everyone just kept buying their normal thing, we all would have been fine. But
so the pizzas were looking extra thin then for a few weeks, were they?
Well, luckily I was one of the people who actually went overbought, so you know I'll take a bit of the blame. But
and I suppose when you set up, I mean, obviously one of the things that you know strikes you when you come in is that you know the wood-fired pizza, that the oven.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, how much work did it take to get that put in place?
I have some photos like that would just shock you, and I'm just not ready to release them at the minute. But that was, we got that shipped in from Italy, and there was a huge wait time to get it, and it comes in these huge concrete sections essentially, and there's just no way a human or even a group of them could lift it, so we had to get like small cranes that you could fit inside a building to lift it. And my girlfriend done like time lapse. She was sort of like trying to keep track of the progress and all, and it's just these little cranes lifting this oven together, like it was tough. It was tough getting it in there, and once I had it built, it came time to sort of decide how we were going to design the place.
Yeah.
And a lot of kitchens keep their own, like it's not a focal point or anything.
Yeah.
I was like, I put so much work into that. I'm putting a big piece of glass and I want everyone to see it, like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So if you go into the place, we have like huge sort of low counter and a big piece of glass, and you can see the pizzas being made, and you know, I think that's good because with handmade pizzas, it's artisan and it takes a lot of skill. So why not let people?
I suppose it's dinner and a show. I suppose.
Yeah, why not let people see their dinner being made, and
and
instead of just getting it, and I think it adds something to the business. So yeah.
And what has sort of been the reaction then to people starting to come in?
Yeah, no, it's been really good anyway. I think that, like, a lot of people don't say that whenever they're in, but like I'd sort of like look at them and to see if they are watching, and they do watch you making the pizzas and all. It's sort of just like, it's something to look at. Like if you ever go to any takeaway, it's like, oh, where do you look? And my test was going to be to see the people, would they rather go on their phones, you know, the temptation of their phones, or would they rather watch the pizza being made? So every time I was making the pizza for that first couple of weeks, I'd sort of take a look over and see, and they were all watching the pizzas being made, so I sort of knew it was worthwhile going all that effort, you know.
And I mean, when you were starting up, was there any things that you didn't think you were going to have to be doing, or you didn't think of at the time that were maybe complications along the way?
Oh, so many like complications threw themselves up. Like we had like a click and collect system, and it was really good. That be able to have people come in and order for a specific time, their food be waiting for them there. It was really convenient. But then we started getting busier, and it started getting hard to manage people coming in the door and on the click and collect. So we had to just turn it off for a while. And yeah, our capacity, we sort of, like I thought I'd overshot how much space we need and all, but within about 3 weeks I was like, oh, we're probably a bit undersized, and we're already replacing some of the equipment we got in, because it's just too small. So like that's a good problem to have, I suppose, but it still takes time to sort it out, and you know, I didn't think I'd be replacing equipment so soon. So it's good. It's bittersweet.
I suppose that's it. You know, that first investment's always a bit of a worry. I suppose you never want to go too big or go too expensive and think.
Yeah, no, it definitely takes a lot of investment. That's hard, you know, to see. Took months to get the business going, and you know, you've set aside this money to build the place, and then by the end of it, it's all gone. Like, and you're like, oh, you know, you have to accept that maybe not one person would come in the door. Like, you know, if that's a possibility. That's what I had to tell myself. You know, if no one comes in the door, or if one person comes in the door, is it still worth it to have taken that chance? And that was an obvious yes for me. So I didn't mind making the investment, and now it's the same again when we're replacing equipment. It's like, you know, it's justified itself. And
and I suppose just future proofing the business so that it's going to be ready for that. But I mean, you know, at your age, how were you able to raise the funds? Was it just working or?
It was working, and my partner, she also runs her own business.
Right.
So she contributed a lot as well.
Yeah.
And I've honestly no idea. We just slowly, it was working, and definitely didn't have a huge budget. So anywhere we could save money, if I could do something myself, I would. Yeah. Like, I probably shouldn't say this, but like, we really struggled to get a tiler in, and I never knew how to tile before. I was like, I never wanted to learn how to tile, but I was like, you know what, it'll push the project on. Yeah. By 6 weeks, because they were like, oh, there's a 6 week wait time. I was like, I'm going to get on YouTube and I'm going to learn how to tile. So I really put a lot of work into the place, like, and I think that's what young entrepreneurs have to do. You sort of flying by the seat of your pants, as I say, like, you know, just doing whatever you can just to get the ball rolling, you know, and then once it's going, and then you can do things properly again. You can replace things and all, but just get it started.
Yeah, and I suppose it all starts as as with yourself, just starts with one idea.
Pretty much, yeah. No, I can remember the moment, like just in that street in Dublin, and there was just the buzz of the city, and just being instantly like, this is what I want to do. This is the business I want to go into. Like, but for some people it's not that easy, and they sort of like, they kind of have that entrepreneurial spark, but they're not quite sure where they can take that or what they want to do. Like, so I was lucky in that regard.
And did you have any moments where you went, oh goodness, what have I done?
Yeah, no, there's been a few. Yeah, that building that oven was definitely one of them. Yeah.
I suppose the moment it probably arrived, you kind of just looked at it and went, what is happening here?
I kind of anticipated before it ever started that there was going to be difficult moments, but what I wanted to be was so far in that I couldn't turn back. So thankfully I was definitely too far in that I just had to keep pushing forward, and so it sort of worked out.
Yeah, and I suppose it's the thing is as well, you took a risk as well, because you might not have known the people of Armagh in general that well, so didn't really know whether this was something that they were going to like, or did you just believe in the product so much that you were like, well, of course they're gonna like it?
Yeah, no, I definitely had doubts, and I sort of wanted to tame my expectations that something that might do well in the city just mightn't have enough traction in a small town. But there was a few times throughout the build where I'd go back to the city and sort of retry the pizzas, and every time you take one bite I'd be like, this just has to be able to sell. I just can't envision a world where it doesn't, there's not enough people that like it. So
no. I suppose 5 weeks in as well, so you were kind of like, the first week you were probably like, right, it's just new. Was that kind of ever going through your head where you were like, the first week you kind of went, oh, it's just because new people are coming in, trying to keep that?
I definitely think there's a curiosity boom at the start, so one of my favourite moments, because we talked about what it's going to be like, and it's like, even if it is booming at the start for the first week or whatever, it's just people, because everyone that comes in, no one's tried it before, like. But then there's a moment where this young guy who must have been 15 or 16 came in and tried a pizza, and a couple hours later came back and was like, it was really nice, I'd like another one. And I was just, taken aback, like, because I was like, I love pizza, and I don't even think I'd go back the same day. So I was like, it's good to see our first return customer, and then since then we've had people come back every weekend nearly and stuff, and it's good to see that it's slowly building from what's 100% of people have never tried it to people who've eaten it every weekend and seem to like it consistently. So
And has any of that science degree played a role in any part? Maybe putting together the oven might have been.
Maybe a little, yeah. It'd be a bit of a stretch to say that it helped, to be honest, but no, it did. That definitely in any food business, there's a lot of like hygiene aspects and all, and making sure that your premises is hygienic and safe. And whenever I worked in labs, that was also the case. So definitely overlapped. It's something I found quite easy to do. Was the hygiene aspect and how to keep the place, how to keep on top of that, and systems of record keeping and all that. So I guess it helped in that regard. Or maybe I just like to think those 4 years contributed something.
And can you remember the first customer then?
Well, the very first customers that came in were family. You can always count on family. But then I remember the first it was a woman who came in, and me and my partner, she decided she'd work with me for the first few weeks just to to help out, and we both just sort of looked at each other like do you know her? And she was like, do you know her? And we were like, no. So maybe this is the first one, like, and it was sort of like a here we go moment, you know.
But it was, as you said, because when you had a load of family and friends or whatever come first, it probably was odd. Because it probably didn't feel like a business at that point. It probably just felt like a family gathering or something.
It felt like a family gathering, and they sort of hung about longer than customers would. And, you know, I was sitting chatting with them instead of, like, you know, working. So it was definitely a bit odd. But then, whenever they all cleared out and we had strangers come in, like, it was great. And it was great to talk to them, you know, especially there's not a lot of businesses that you go into where it's the owner of the business is also the one who's serving you, like, so they're very curious, and they're like interested if we were the owners and about our background and what we were doing in Armagh, you know, like, because this is their home, like, and we just pop up on the street someday and I'm like, you know, no. What are you doing here?
And I suppose, you know, the only other thing is really, you know, what would you sort of say to anyone, you know, that's maybe has that bright spark of an idea?
There's a lot I could say, actually. You know, it's definitely something I'm very interested in, is business and entrepreneurship, and but I just say, like, start the business that you can start, you know, keep it a bit realistic, but always have the vision. You know, you can have the grand vision, but, like, you got to take the small steps to get there. And, like, you know, I'd love to have 100 stores across Ireland and the UK and everywhere, but, like, it all starts with that hand cranking that crane up to get that oven built. You know, you got to start with the small steps, so don't be afraid of them. And that it's about the process. You gotta enjoy it all, like, you know. It may have been difficult tiling that floor and building it, but, you know, we smiled and laughed along the way, and you really gotta just enjoy the moments and not think that, whenever you get open, that's when you're gonna be happy with the business and all, because it's never complete with the business. You know, just when you think it is, you have to start replacing things. You want to try a different marketing strategy. You got to new products to bring in, you know. It's really, it's like a lifestyle choice, you know. So.
And I suppose with the business, you know, is that your dream, is to kind of push it and make the business bigger?
Definitely, no, I'd love to, but I'm definitely, you know, not going to rush anything. I really want to take it slow and do things right, and make sure that if we do grow it, that it's not at the cost of anything important, you know.
I suppose, like, the pizza, obviously, you know, it started with that lovely slice of pizza that you had in Dublin.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to ever stray away from that being what it's about.
That's what it has to be, you know, with it, and because it's everything's handmade and all, like, the people I need to bring in, they can't just be students who need a bit of extra money. It needs to be someone who actually has a passion for food and is really interested in the process and the history of pizza. Is, even I wouldn't have thought so till I started looking into it. It's so rich, and the Italians, they take it very seriously. During training, I work with a few Italians, and, like, if you said anything bad about pizza, they were genuinely insulted, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and I suppose it's like, as well, we've become accustomed to perhaps thicker dish pizzas and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Whereas they'd probably looking on a bit disgusted at it sometimes as well.
Well, to be fair, we've had a lot of Armagh locals in, being thankful. They've obviously tried Italian style pizzas. Actually, there was one girl who came in, and she explained this was her second time coming in, how she came in and thought, Italian style pizza, and she'd been to Naples, which is the home of pizza in Italy. And she said she brought the pizza home, got a glass of wine, got into her pajamas, and she opened it up, and when the smell hit her, she said she just felt like she was in Naples, and that's really something
sort of the best compliment you could get.
That was one of the best compliments we could get, and, you know, we contemplated making a slogan for the business, which was Basil Lane, cheaper than going to Naples. But with them cheap Ryanair flights now, it's, you know.
And it's with Basil Lane, where that kind of, where did the name come from?
Yeah, no, well, like, when I was making pizzas, we include fresh basil on it, and I think I just love the smell of it. I think it's one of the most fresh aspects of the pizza that sort of separates you from the other ones that are sort of, you know, the frozen goods and stuff on them, and it's all very mass produced and stuff.
Yeah.
So and then the flavour of the basil just goes really well with the pizza. So I think the best bite on the pizza is the one where you're biting into the basil. So it's like, oh, I have to include that somewhere. And then we just picked Lane because it sort of it just rolled really well. So we decided to call it the Basil Lane. Yeah.
And any sort of bizarre, I suppose when you were designing a menu, did you have any bizarre attempts? Interesting toppings or anything like that?
No, I definitely always been interested in trying a duck pizza, I think, because that's my favourite meat, essentially, you know, and I've never made one to this day, but I've just always wanted to put, you know, that's my number one food, my number two food together.
So it might be a special some week or something.
We'll try it, yeah. I'll see, I have to do it right, or I might end up ruining pizza and duck for myself. So
no. Listen, Matthew, as I said, thank you very much for coming down to chat for us.
Thanks so much for the invite.
And best of luck with the future as well.
Thanks, really appreciate it.